Hey everybody, Mike Brailsford with Brailsford Woodworks here. Hey, today no turning video, but I want to give you kind of a glimpse at where I do my turning currently and show you the shop renovation that I'm in the middle of, where my turning station will now be living from here on out. First, let me show you how the lathe sits now and how my turning station currently is. My shop is 20 by 40 outside dimension, and it sits the lathe sits probably just about 30 feet in towards the back as it is now. As you can see, the walls, you can see my horizontal ribs, my horizontal girts that go between my beams. This is what I'm in the process of changing. And in the new location, it's different, which I'll show you. But currently, I have my lathe sitting perpendicular to the wall with the power head on the outside. I've got my tool station that I have right there at the end. I like the PVC tubes and how they don't collect any debris inside and kind of self-drain, so to speak. This isn't big enough. I have to make a bigger one, and it's blocking my outlets. This was always intended to be temporary, and we're going to change it all up. Over here, you will see I have my sharpening station. I've got my Wolverine jig on my Ricon slow speed grinder, and this is my regular toolbox, and I've got excess lathe tools and other lathe accessories inside here. I'm also currently storing most of my sandpaper in here, so that's also one of the things I'm going to change. And then I got stuff just crammed in all the nooks and crannies. I got more sandpaper in there, I got dye tint, I got my Yorkshire grit. Down here I got my CA glue. There's an old lathe that my dad gave me, which I may or may not set up someplace, maybe out of just nostalgia, but it has probably the smallest spindle I've ever seen. It's a Montgomery Ward lathe, believe it or not, but I digress. So let me show you where we are moving to. Okay, so this shows you what I'm currently doing to the walls. This is covering my horizontal girts, and I'm just putting on just straight up pine boards that have all been milled off my property. So I just have them, I cut them to whatever width I can get out of each individual board. I'm not staining them, I'm not putting tongue and groove. I want it to have kind of a rustic look, and so I'm just I'm insulating and then putting them up on the walls. My power, which I installed, I ran it all in 3/4 inch EMT conduit, and between each of the vents I've got 2 quad outlets. Each of these quad outlets, each set between the vents is an individual circuit. So on each wall I've got 4 20 amp circuits. I've also installed in many locations 220 volt 20 amp outlets. There's one here and another one over here. So this also sets me up for how I want to move my lathe. I've also got 4 locations that I had put in the floor with 4 floor outlets, which I have wired up. Each one has a 120 volt 20 amp receptacle and a 220 volt 20 amp receptacle as well. Gives me lots of options. So right now the plan is that the lathe is going to move to this side. It's probably going to be heads up against that beam, that column right there, and I intend to have it come out at like a 45-degree angle from the wall rather than straight out, because I want to try to conserve floor space as much as possible, because that area in the middle I'm going to build a Roubeau bench for. So with that said, I'm also going to install French cleats on the walls. As you can see over here, I've already done that with on the areas that I finished. I like to put a couple rows so I have options of where I can hang things. So I want to have all of my lathe tools up here in close reach for where I'm putting it. But then again, I also want to have, I now want to move my sandpaper into individual bins for each grit up here. If you all have any suggestions, if you think that, well, that's not a great idea, Mike, why don't you try something else? Hey, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But at any rate, from there on, back here, I'll have my sharpening station probably back here. I want to make sure I have enough room. I also want to leave underneath, probably try to keep it clear, because all of us turners know this is a messy, messy hobby. And there's no good way to keep the shavings out of basically everywhere. So that's the next thing I want to try to hit, is having access to the lathe underneath. But one of the good things is about having the power head there at the column is now when I'm doing hollow forms, I'll be able to access it from the end of the lathe over here rather than having to work from the side all the time. I can move my power head down and work on the lathe right from the end. I do need to get the swing away bed for my lathe. I think that will make that a lot easier so I can swing my tailstock out of the way. At any rate, so you can see there's a lot of other stuff currently in the shop that is just a big mess. So once you get into a renovation like this, all of my tools have pulled away from the wall. It's just chaos. This is still the stack of bowl blanks that I got from my son up in Massachusetts. I brought them back down here, and I still have to get them stored. There's my ship's ladder going to my upstairs. This is another project idea. You know, I've got some probably 10-quarter willow oak that I would love to try doing one, perhaps two river table, probably the size of coffee tables. And here's some more of the willow oak that I've got in different configurations. But at any rate, this is where it stands, and we'll see how it's going to come out. So this weekend here, coming up, it's going to be trying to put an end to some of the chaos. I'm going to move my lathe over. I'm going to start building all of my shelving and storage racks that I want for my tools. I need to get more PVC. Because I've run out of space on the current one that I have. I'll probably double my capacity because, hey, more tools are better, eh? And then I'll work on the racks for my sandpaper and so forth. But now you've seen this, if you have any ideas that you think I could do it better, let me know. I'd love to hear about them. And as always, thank you all for watching. Please click that like and subscribe. Bye-bye now.